Hey, I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on the Sibling Rivalry Baseball 500, how many laps will it take to finish this episode?
Not as many as Giancarlo Stanton has done on the IL. Now moving into the pole position, SRBB headlines.
20 years after winning his first Indy 500, Brazilian Helio Castroneves drove to victory to win this year's race and his fourth title overall. Castroneves becomes the fourth driver in history to win the Indianapolis 500 four times, joining Rick Mears, Al Unser, and A.J. Foyt, while also becoming the fourth driver 46 or older to win, along with Al Unser, Bobby Unser, and Emerson Fittipaldi.
Speaking about guys in their 40s, after 24 seasons, the NFL's all-time leading scorer is retiring. Adam Vinatieri kicked 599 field goals and scored a total of 202,673 points in his career. 29 of his kicks were walk-offs. Automatic Adam, or Iceman as he was known, started his NFL career with the New England Patriots, finishing up with the Indianapolis Colts. He has the most Super Bowl victories of any kicker, winning 3 with the Patriots and 1 with the Colts.
Villarreal won the United European Football Association's Europa League versus Manchester United after penalties and a 1-1 draw in Gdansk, Poland, following an incredible, historic 11-10 penalty shootout success. The drama came after 120 minutes played out with no further goals, and it sent it to spot kicks between the two sides. After a perfect exchange of 10 goals apiece, United goalkeeper David De Gea was the unlucky man to miss and hand Villarreal victory.
Gavin McLeod, everyone's favorite captain, has died. Best known for his roles on Love Boat as Captain Merrill Steubing and Murray Slaughter on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. McLeod made his big screen debut in I Want to Live in 1958. He went on to make numerous movie and TV show role appearances, including on McHale's Navy. After Love Boat, he worked sporadically, but continued on as a spokesman for Princess Cruise Lines. Born as Alan George C. in Mount Kisco, New York on February 28, 1931. He also served in the U.S. Air Force from 1952 to 1954. You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. We've hit the unofficial start to summer, and of course summer is baseball's playground. How many times do you see in old movies during the summer, all the kids are out playing baseball, or Sandlot, where they go to Sandlot every day to play baseball? Well, it kind of feels like that because this week, not only did we find out about the college playoff field, the field of 64, but the qualifying for the U.S. team to make the Olympics started this week. And unofficially, we can start looking at the MLB standings now and start actually putting some weight on them. I think we're at the point that it's now, we're not too early anymore. It's still early. I think we're at that point. Yeah, things could change, but they need to start changing soon. Not, oh, it's still early, they'll be all right. Of course, teams play poorly for the first half of the season and then move in after the All-Star break and go on a run, and the whole outlook changes, but that doesn't happen that often. But since we got a long way and a lot of weeks to talk about Major League Baseball, and we only have less than a month to enjoy college baseball, the end of the college baseball season, the College World Series starts in the middle of June, around June 19th, and starting on the 4th. Is that right? The playoffs begin. The Field of 64 was just announced on Memorial Day, and I thought it had probably gone on much longer, but I was amazed to see that the the College World Series didn't start until 1947.
Yeah, the inaugural College World Series was played in 1947 in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and they hosted again in 1948. The tournament was then moved the following year to Wichita, Kansas, and in that same year, former President George H.W. Bush was captain of the Yale baseball team that made the series. The College World Series was first played in Omaha in 1950 and boasted a total attendance of 17,805. The College World Series was played at Rosenblatt Stadium and then has moved to TD America Stadium.
Which will someday be renamed to something else.
Yes, I guess.
That kind of
Sibling
throws me
Rivalry
off
Baseball
because,
Podcast Stadium.
right.
Oh.
That's exactly it. Right, because someday we're going to make some money and we're going to be able to have corporate sponsorship on something. And
Yeah.
what a better way. I think that would be a cool place to have that.
Yeah.
Make
And
the people at ESPN say our name over and over and over again.
And I mispronounce. It's TD Ameritrade Stadium.
Ameritrade.
Yes, so not America, not something easy. Ameritrade.
Ameritrade. I always wondered how come now it used to be you put your name on one stadium, that was it. But there's two Mercedes-Benz stadiums now, New Orleans and Atlanta. There's the TD stadiums. They're like different places now. There's the one that where somewhere in Florida, that was a TD stadium.
Yeah.
And there's a couple others that I think are minor league. And now, of course, the one in Omaha. So what stands out to you in all this? We knew that some of the teams that we talked about over the previous few weeks were going to be on top. Arkansas ends up the season at number 1 overall and will be one of the top 4 seeds overall. And they'll have teams coming into to Fayetteville, Arkansas, to start off the series. In the regionals, Texas, Tennessee, and Vandy all that's the top 4 seeds in the tournament. And overall, there's 16 top seeds?
Yep.
Because there's 16 regionals, right?
Yeah, so you have regionals, and then it goes to super regionals, and then to the College World Series. One of the things that stands out to me is Norfolk State or Norfolk State.
I was going to say Norfolk State. That's how they said it when we lived there.
Yeah, won its first ever Mid-Eastern Atlantic Conference title to earn the league's automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. This will be their first appearance in Division I tournament. And I'm always a sucker for those type of teams, especially as they, how far they get. If they get into the College World Series, I like to see those teams go on to win, just the Cinderella teams. I think I get that from Dad, too, whenever we watch the NCAA basketball tournament. He always would root for the Cinderella teams. So
yeah, unless there was somebody that he really liked as a team, it was always just I'm going with the underdogs.
Yeah.
The one thing I noticed about Norfolk State as well was that they're the only team in the tournament with an overall losing record.
Yeah.
They have a 25-26 overall record. They were 18-10 in their conference. I don't know what that says about the MEAC, but they're not the only team to make their very first appearance in the tournament. Grand Canyon is also making their first appearance, as is Presbyterian. And then my team to follow as an underdog, also making their very first appearance in the tournament, is the New Jersey Institute of Technology, the Highlanders. First time, not only in a Division I baseball tournament, but in any tournament. They've never had a team. They've got a basketball program. None of them have ever made a playoff in Division I sports. This is their very first time.
Yeah, that's very cool. That was one thing I was just going to mention the same. So there'll be a team to watch through the regionals, hoping they make it, into super regionals and go on. But
well, their biggest problem to start is that their first game is versus the number 1 seed, Arkansas.
Which, when I saw that, I thought, really? Come on. Can't you give them a break, at least a little bit of a break to get maybe just a little bit further? I mean, who knows? They could totally come out and beat Arkansas, which would be the upset of the year. They're facing Arkansas, so they got to be really on their game. But
they've been a school. They've been around for 130 years. This is their very first. And why didn't they put like Presbyterian or Norfolk State? So that would have been nice, but no, I guess not. Once they're done with that, they'll play the loser of either the Northeastern or Nebraska game, as everything is double elimination. You have to lose twice.
One of the teams that I kept seeing, and it was DBU, and I was like, who is DBU? So I looked it up, and Dallas Baptist University, and I thought, well, this has got to be, their first time, or no, seventh
time, huh?
7 times they have been in the tournament. So they could be a force that nobody really pays attention to. Some other ones, Southeast Missouri in the Ohio Valley Conference, McNeese State from Lake Charles, Louisiana.
McNeese State, Steve McNair, quarterback who played for the Titans, Tennessee Titans. He went to McNeese State. Another thing that I noticed was one of the service academies. Normally, you'll see the service academies pop up in football or basketball, one here, one there. West Point, Army, will have their team in here, but the others, Navy and Air Force, I guess, are not good enough to make it to.
They couldn't do it. The SEC leads the way with 9 teams selected, and that is pretty par for the course, at least this year, because if you followed the standings, that was the teams that were always in the top 25. And then you had the Atlantic Coast Conference. They have 8 teams. The Pac-12 has 6. The Big 12 and Conference USA each have 4 teams. Big 10 Conference has 3. And the American Atlantic, Atlantic Sun, Big South, Big West, Metro Atlantic, and Missouri Valley all have 2 teams in the field.
That's one thing I like about this when you look through it. Normally when you look at college football Division I, you pretty much always see the same few teams. Basketball, you pretty much have your powerhouses, and they're pretty much even the teams that get the automatic bids out of some of the conferences are usually the same teams every year, or they swap up with the same couple of teams. You know them. Here, you can go through this and you can see some of the schools and go, oh, yeah, okay, I know that. Like the SEC schools or the ACC school, even the Pac-12. You know them. You're not surprised to see them. But here, there are a bunch of teams that, like you said, who's DBU? Grand Canyon, have they ever made? I think Grand Canyon made it into the basketball tournament.
Yeah, I think that's what you have seen mainly is their basketball program.
Right.
But they have an up-and-coming baseball program as well.
So it seems. But you'd never heard of, why would the New Jersey Institute of Technology have a baseball team? I'm looking forward to it. That's who I'm tying I'm hitching my wagon to for the underdogs. Do I think they're going to make it all the way? No. Honestly, from looking at it, I think that and looking at the past, I think it's hard to determine who might really go. But I'm gonna go with the NJIT Highlanders. I'm gonna see what it takes to get a Julio Marcano jersey or an Albert Choi jersey, and support the Highlanders as far as they go. And then once they get eliminated, I'll look for somebody else. I see though why a team, let's say like Vandy, would be in a good spot here because Vandy, with the two elite starters, they've got, as far as prospects goes, the number 3 and the number 5 on the upcoming prospects list for the draft in Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker. That's a playoff setup when you've got two guys that are dominant pitchers that, and you're in a short time frame, you can throw them both, get where you need to be. I don't know what the rest of their pitching staff looks like, but it's got to be somewhat decent or they wouldn't be where they are, especially playing in the SEC.
Well, and the interesting thing with Vanderbilt, though, is they were on a tear, and then towards the end of the season, kind of fell off. I mean, they still had, I think their record was 40-15, something like that. But those last few series, they were not looking like the number 2 Vanderbilt that they had been. They were number 1, number 2 between Arkansas and Vanderbilt. Arkansas has stayed number 1. Vanderbilt is the number 4 in the top 16 seeds. Texas is the number 2 seed. So it'll be interesting to see. That's the thing too. I mean, really just with sports in general, is you just don't know what kind of days your pitcher going to have. Are they going to have their stuff? Is your offense going to be alive? Are they going to be able to get hits?
Right.
So it'll be interesting. One thing I did not realize is, I mean, I guess because Duke, you always think of as a basketball team, but Duke won its first baseball tournament, division tournament this year. So
wow.
I would think, they probably at least a few. No, probably overshadowed also by basketball.
Well,
Florida State is back in the, will be in a regional. It is they've had the longest consecutive streak with their 43rd straight appearance. Vanderbilt has 15 and Florida has 13, but Florida State, 43rd straight appearance in a tournament. So then you have, like we mentioned, you have regionals, super regionals. The super regional host will be announced on Tuesday, June 8th. So those teams will know where they're going, and then they go from there.
All right. So double elimination in this first round, and most of the number 1 seeds are hosting that first round, right?
Yep.
And then it goes to the super regionals, which, as you just said, the 8th we'll find out, and those start on June 11th. So everything will start up on June 4th. So this weekend. The super regionals will start June 11th, and that is a best of 3 games, right?
Yep.
And then, of course, the World Series starts up on the 19th and runs through basically the end of June. So so you're going to go with Norfolk State as your underdog?
I think so, because I was born near in that area. Don't remember it, but I was born
That region,
there.
yes, you were born, and about a year later we left.
Yeah. So I'll go with Norfolk State.
Okay. And who do you think realistically, when you just look at a glance, who do you think has got the best shot to win it all?
Well, I don't want to go with the obvious, but I really think Arkansas, if they continue to play the way they've been playing, they could do it. I think they could do it. So, I mean, now I looked this up, and it said that Arkansas has made 10 appearances in the College World Series, and they don't have a title. They've never won.
So you think they're due?
So I think they might be due. And like I said, if they continue to play the way they played this season, I think the Razorbacks are due for a baseball title. I mean, they have some good, some alumni of the team. Dallas Keuchel played for the Razorbacks. Andrew Benintendi was a Razorback. So, they've got some guys there. Of course, we all know Vanderbilt, Walker Buehler, Dansby Swanson, Sonny Gray. That's to name a few. LSU, our favorite little man, Alex Bregman, along with some others. So I'm going to go with the obvious choice is probably taking it all as the Razorbacks. What about you?
I think it's not going to be Arkansas. I'm looking at somebody to make a run in the tournament. That Arkansas, I don't think it's going to be Vandy in a repeat. I think East Carolina.
Okay, I like that choice too. Now, early on, when we've talked about college baseball, they've also been on my list of teams I will, root for.
I definitely think it's going to be a number one seed, one of the starting out a number one seed. I think they're going to play maybe a 2 or a 3 seed in the championship. I'm not sure which one yet, but because I'm not as familiar with all of the teams, but that's who I think goes there. Now, who do you think is the first high seed out of the tournament?
I think, just looking at the top 16 seeds here, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Vanderbilt might be. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but they've been lacking in their play lately. So unless they get it together for the tournament, and they didn't win their division, their conference tournament.
Right, because Arkansas did.
Yeah. So I might go with Vanderbilt. I mean, it's probably off the wall, but we'll see.
No, I mean that's possible. I'm going to go with Notre Dame as being the first of the top seeds to be eliminated from the tournament. It's for me, it's a toss up between them and Arizona. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I can't stand Notre Dame, so that's what. I looked at all of the other markers and then said, who do I like least of these two teams? And Notre Dame won in that respect. So next week we'll give you an update on what's happening in this first week of college baseball playoffs, how the field of 64 shakes out as we head into super regionals, and we'll also get you an update on what's happening with the world baseball and where the USA sits along with other teams in vying for that for those 2 spots to play in Tokyo. Last week, there was dancing in the streets. The Dodgers, after a hard run, seemed to turn it back around and control. And in fact, looked like they were ready to reassert their control in the West. They took on the Giants, who they hadn't seen yet in the season. They also traveled to Houston, to the Astrodome, and it wasn't, I don't know, there was something about this trip. They went to Houston. They were at home for the Giants. There was just something about this trip. We'll talk about that. Of course, we got Albert's Corner coming up in a little bit, our new feature about Albert Pujols. A couple of guys came back from the injured list. We'll talk about them too. But let's go to Houston. Actually, I have a question. Yeah. I was looking up through the week, and I haven't watched a lot. I've watched bits and pieces of games. Mostly I'm just checking the notifications I get about it. But a name popped up, and I thought, who? Phil Bickford. He doesn't sound like a Dodger. I'm like, who is this guy? Is this guy like somebody from the front office that they brought in to pitch? He's one of the sales guys from the season tickets. It calls you and says, hey, we got some new seats down on the field level. You want to upgrade your season tickets?
Phil Bickford, who for a while I was calling Bill Bickford because I didn't know it was Phil. Yeah, he does not look like a reliever. He's got flowing blonde hair. He's tall, but he was a pickup from the Brewers. They he was
Even
with
the description of him doesn't match his name.
No, he doesn't look
You know,
like a
when you
Phil.
Phil Bickford, you're looking for a guy in a plaid jacket
Yes.
on a used car lot, maybe, or he's an actuary for an insurance company.
Yeah, he's
You don't see. He's wearing the white vinyl shoes.
with the buckles.
Yeah, he got the buckles on him. He's kind of maybe got a comb over his hair, maybe a little long, but it's like bad. That's what I expect a Phil Bickford would look like. Not a surfer looking dude like you're describing. He's tall. He's got that look. I'm sorry. If somebody came in, this is Phil Bickford, and I saw that guy, I'd be like, what?
Yeah, his name should be like Skyler or,
Skip.
Tyler, Taylor.
Skip. Taylor would. Yeah.
Skip Bickford.
That would work. He still seems kind of like a used car salesman in his name, but that works because he can't help his last name. But his first name, well, come on.
Yeah, Phil.
All right. Anyway, his name is more fun than most of the Dodgers week.
That's true. So they went into Houston. First game, this was a win for the Dodgers, 9-2, and I felt really good about this win. One, because Clayton Kershaw had not pitched in Houston since the 2017 World Series where the cheaters cheated. They did try to cheat again while Kershaw was on the mound when they had their stadium. So what happened was they had the lights on, or they had the lights off. And when the Dodgers were up to bat, the Asterisks come up to bat, the lights come on.
Magically.
And Kershaw's like, hey, wait a minute. So he goes and he says something to the umpire. Umpire goes into the dugout. And of course, everyone's like, what are they going to find in the dugout? But he was just using the phone. So he told him, you got to turn the lights back off. And then the next inning, in between innings, you can turn the lights on because it has to be equal for
right.
Both
It's got to
teams.
be the same, at least for that inning. If you're going to have them on, everybody's going to have them on.
Right. So there was that. But for Clayton Kershaw to come in, and that really damaged his reputation as, for a pitcher, a great pitcher, going to be in the Hall of Fame, but can't do anything in the postseason. But then we find out what we found out, that they were cheating and getting signs. So for Clayton Kershaw to come in to Houston, he was in the matchup against Zach Greinke, a former teammate, and he did it. Kershaw looked great, 7 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts, did give up a home run. He threw 88 pitches. The reason I mention this is because Zach Greinke threw 81 pitches. Now, the Asterisks bullpen comes in, and they throw 101 pitches and walked in some Dodgers for some runs. There was a lot of energy for this game. I think because Clayton Kershaw was on the mound. Obviously, first time fans were in the stands. The other thing, too, is that day was the first day that Minute Maid Park allowed full capacity at the stadium. So that was big. You also had Dodger group called Pantone 294, and they put together, I guess, like travel packages, and you can go to other stadiums. So there was a huge crowd of Dodger fans there. And so there was a lot of energy. It was great. Second
I heard that
game, not so much.
I heard that the security forces there at the Dome were actively going through the crowd to take away asterisks cheated signs.
Yes.
So if you had something up that said that they cheated or the cheaters or anything like that, they came and took those away.
There was also,
if you had Bregman's a giant sign, even though it's a complete lie, you could keep that.
And they would take it down to him and sign, and he would sign it for you.
I think one time they did, and it fell on top of Altuve, and they couldn't find him for 2 innings.
Yeah, he buried him. But, well, and as I mentioned too, I saw someone on Twitter who went to the game. She had a T-shirt, which I think you have, with Joe Kelly on it that says "Nice swing," and she's going through security, and the woman at the security or the ticket taker, whatever, she says, that's not appropriate. And it's not, that's not what Houston is all about. And it's like, what? Your team cheated.
And then acted like big babies about it.
Yeah.
Every place that they go, if people are booing them excessively, like in New York, they cry to their Papa Manfred so that he can have the MLB asterisk protection force in place.
Yeah. Well, it was there, but it didn't stop the huge crowd of Dodger fans that were there when the Asterisks took the field. They chanted "cheater" over and over. So you can't take that away. They are very loud. In fact,
from the past.
Yeah, and it really, when Justin Turner had a 2-run home run in that game, it sounded like you were in, Dodger Stadium because it was so loud. The second game was not what I think anybody expected. Trevor Bauer was on the mound, so I really thought there was going to maybe be some fireworks. There wasn't. The Asterisks came out and said, "We're going to get him," because, he has not.
He's been a big critic of them. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not been shy about it. And Carlos Correa, who honestly, I think he's going to be a free agent coming up. He can't go anywhere else. He has to be an asterisk because even if he goes to another team, I don't know how any team could the fans really embrace him, because he has been double down nasty about the whole situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I was wondering about that too. Two things about the Asterisks. Where does he go? I thought about that before when they were talking about it. He's like, well, I'll go wherever I can go. But where does he end up? Does he go to someplace like Miami, where he's kind of out of the way, can kind of just settle in and do that? But he runs his mouth too much. He's going to get himself in trouble down there. Anyway, I wondered about, will there ever be a time in history where we get past the Asterisks and what they did? Is it going to be once Correa, Bregman, and Altuve are gone, or most of them are gone, and they need to take Kyle Tucker with them, because even though he wasn't part of it, he's got that same attitude. Just when I see his face, I just want to hit him.
I know he has that look.
All I know is I want, when I see him coming out of the clubhouse to go out to the team bus, and he's got his little baby carrier, and he's carrying Altuve in it and holding Bregman's hand on the way out to the bus. I just want all three of them to be hit by that bus.
Yeah, there's something about I mentioned Carlos Correa, who has just doubled down. Bregman and Altuve, they haven't really said anything other than, their little what they had to say at that ridiculous press conference that they had. "We're sorry, we didn't mean to do it," and then go sit down. But you also have guys that have also taken on that role, like Tucker. But even the one that is disappointing to me is Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker, who was supposed to come in and be like the healer, help them, heal with the other teams, has also kind of doubled down on the whole thing, which is unfortunate because I've always liked Dusty Baker, and it's,
I just don't see how anybody that lived through it will ever be to a point. I don't see a point, on my deathbed where I go, okay, I'm fine with the asterisks now.
I forgive them.
I don't
No,
see that. I just feel
they're
like I'm going to go
always-
to that they were cheaters then, there's cheaters now, and they're probably cooking up new ways in space age baseball to cheat.
Yeah, they're always going to be cheaters. I feel that way too. And I know people that were Asterix fans and they're no longer Asterix fans because of that cheating. And that was the thing too, is there's so many fans there, of course, being in Houston, and they're trying to talk crap about the Dodgers, and it's like you don't get a say. Your team cheated, and you aided and abetted because you rooted for them, and you continue to root for them. Right?
Aided and abetted.
They did.
We need to send them a cease and desist.
Yeah. I will say Wednesday's game, where Trevor Bauer was on Tuesday's game, it was packed. I think Wednesday's game was too. However, one thing I noticed was behind the plate, when the game started on Tuesday, all of those seats were full. When the game started on Wednesday, there were maybe, 5 people. And then as the game went on, they came in, and because they were late, and like, well, how are you late to a baseball game? Like that's you can't do that.
Yeah, I'm used to it. I'm used to it here.
Yeah.
In LA, because people come late, and sometimes I get it. If start times you didn't get off work, but to me, it's like I'll take the whole day off if I have to.
Oh yeah, if you've got tickets and
you knew this isn't something that, unless it's a last minute thing that just came up.
Yeah.
But if you're there ready to go, and if you can't go, give them to somebody who can. Don't show up in the 4th inning and leave at the bottom of the 7th or at the stretch.
Right, exactly.
All right, so now that we have completely eaten up all the time for this segment, we don't have to talk about what happened with the Giants.
We don't, because it's really not important.
If you remember,
they won one, they lost some. That's all we need to know.
Yeah, win a few, lose a few. They basically what happened was, if you remember last weekend, the Dodgers went in, they swept that. And they only played 3, so they got the 3 wins. The Giants came in and repaid the favor, essentially, letting the Dodgers have game 1. Almost though. Victor Gonzalez, who's usually right on there, had a blown save that game.
Yep.
DJ Peters hit his first home run, and they did squeak that one out 4-3. But after that, there was a Zennings game, kind of a blowout, I guess, if you want to call it that, and then a close one, but an L is an L.
Yeah.
To finish out the 4-game set.
Yeah. The first game, it was a bullpen game. And David Price started that game. He threw 2 2/3 innings. He had 5 strikeouts. Looked really good. And I know it was a bullpen game, but I really questioned, why did they pull him so early when he really had his stuff? Now, in bullpen games so far, Dodgers are 2-0. But as we're seeing, they won that game. They lost the next 3 games. Did the bullpen game hurt the Dodgers going forward because they weren't able to use? And did they, like, Kenley Jansen got his 12th save in that first game, but then Blake Trinan in the second game gave up a home run to Buster Posey, which is kind of uncharacteristic of him. And so you just kind of wonder about the bullpen games. I know they're waiting on Tony Gonsolin to come back. He's been with Oklahoma City in rehab, with, throwing some games there. But I guess we also need to mention Cody Bellinger and Zach McKinstry are back in LA.
Right. They came in for the weekend.
Yep. And a lot of
Decided
people
Oklahoma City was no place they wanted to be on a long weekend.
No, they didn't want to be there. Well, and a lot of people were, oh, good, we got reinforcements. And Cody looks great defensively, but right now he's, 0 and just isn't, he has to get back into, I think, that groove. Zach McKinstry is the same. And I wonder how people, I went to an Isotopes game and they were playing the Dodgers, the Oklahoma City Dodgers. Cody didn't play that night, but Zach McKinstry played. He didn't have a hit in the two. He came in about the 7th inning. He hit twice and he was 0 for 2. So just because, they did rehab and they're feeling better, they're healed, doesn't mean that they miraculously come in and hit home runs and drop doubles and triples and, are doing everything. They got to get back into the groove of major league pitching. There's good pitching in the minor leagues, but it's not the same. And the bases are bigger. So they got to get used to the
right. They got to go back
bags.
to tiny bases.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on there, but they're back and that's good. The other thing I did think I want to mention is because Dave Robertson mentioned that he wants to give Chris Taylor a break when Cody and Zach came back. And I just don't really think that you can not have a Dodger game without Chris Taylor, because even if he gets,
but couldn't you have said that about Farmer John hot dogs for all those years too? We can't have a game without a Farmer John Dodger dog.
I think that is true also. So you can't have a game at Dodger Stadium without Farmer John hot dogs. Well, I guess they're now that other company, which, that could be,
the curse.
The curse.
John.
But I mean, just looking with Chris Taylor, whether he's out in the field making really good plays or he's at bat, it's like, how is he going to give him a break? Because he is so awesome. I am a Chris Taylor fan. I just think he's awesome. And he is from Virginia Beach, Virginia. So
he's probably going for
Norfolk. Yeah.
No, because I didn't see Virginia in there. Was Virginia
I didn't see.
And that's where he went to college at. So
yeah, so we'll see. But anyway, I only mentioned
big news from the Zennings game. Cuz with the long ball, 3 RBIs. So that was a big thing for him. Game 3, which was the kind of the blowout, 11-6, was the final score. Julio, not a great game for him. I guess he was due to have a bad game.
Yeah, he had really been just so great. And, I guess that was just his day. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 11 hits, 7 runs. 6 of those were earned, 2 walks, only 5 strikeouts. And that's the other thing, too, is in game 2 in the Zennings game, Walker Buehler, 3 strikeouts. In the game in Houston with Trevor Bauer, 3 strikeouts.
Which is really unusual for him.
Yeah, really. And so anytime you watch a Dodger game, they're always talking about the jumbo jack. Because if the pitchers get 10 strikeouts,
right,
with the purchase of a drink, you can go get a free jumbo jack. And a lot of people going without
jumbo jacks.
That's right.
No eat. There's no food. The Dodgers aren't striking people out.
Even Kershaw. I'm weak. Kershaw.
I'm gonna have to start watching the Angels. I can get fries. When they win. Oh, I'm really gonna go hungry.
Even Clayton Kershaw, who has looked really good, looked great in Houston. He pitched game 4 where it was too late, like you said, an L is an L. They ended up losing 5-4. He went 6 innings, but he gave up 7 hits, 2 home runs. He walked 3 strikeouts. He struck out 6. So that's about average for him, I think.
It wasn't enough.
But it wasn't no
I'm still hungry.
I know. I think that they had to lay off some people because they
Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box because they didn't have the jumbo.
Well, I noticed
check.
on one of the recent commercials, Jack was actually running the drive-through window himself.
Oh, so maybe that's what's happening. Come on, Dodger pitchers. You got to feed LA.
I would have hoped that would have been a great game for Kirsch because it was his 50th career start versus the Giants.
Wow. Yeah.
But nope. The high notes for the team, Max Muncy, Albert Pujols both drove in 2 runs each. So they got all 4 runs between the two of them, both off of home run.
Yep. And Max hit his 100th home run. And I guess maybe we should talk about Albert's corner.
Yes, we should. Let's talk about Albert Pujols. All right, first off, let's just say he should have had 1 more home run than he does.
Mm-hmm.
He got robbed of a home run, so that's sad. But he really overall had a good week. He was only 4 for 19, so he's only hitting 211, but that's pretty standard for how he's been doing. But he did have 2 doubles, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. So it brought his totals up to 670 total home runs, 671 doubles. I think he's the only member of that 600-600 club. 2,122 RBIs. He leads all major leaguers in career numbers right now of current major leaguers. Nobody's even close to him. That's he's got 1,335 total walks in his career, over 2,898 games.
I was going to mention in the Zennings game what should have been the walk-off featuring Albert Pujols. Mike Tauchman, who was a Rocky, saw him play with Isotopes, and then he was a Yankee, and now he's a Giant with a really bad mustache, absolutely robbed Albert of his home run because it was over the fence, and he happened to just time that right, and it ended up in his glove.
Instead of somebody's hands as a souvenir, or in somebody's nachos or whatever.
Yeah, so he should have been at probably, after those
672?
672, yeah.
About. Yeah. 671, 672.
Yeah. So that was, you have to get, it was a great catch in it, but my thought was, come on. I know it's tied, but give it, come on, give it to him. Let him have it.
He's a legend.
Right.
Don't you want to see him get past A-Fraud? He's 30 away.
I know.
That's not helping this.
No.
Maybe, though, he played with the Yankees. Maybe he met A-Fraud and he's drank the Kool-Aid.
That's it.
So coming up this week, the Dodgers, this is kind of a weird thing I noticed. The Dodgers have the Cardinals on Memorial Day. Oddly enough, when they go to St. Louis, they will play the Cardinals starting on Labor Day. So they will book in the summer with the Cardinals. And then they're going to be heading out to the East Coast to play Atlanta.
Yeah.
We're talking a little bit about something going on with an Atlanta player when we get to around the league. Player of the week, who you got?
Well, this one was a tough one for me because I know we usually pick one, but I felt like both of these guys, and we just talked about them. Max Muncy is my player of the week, but I also feel that Albert Pujols also is a deserving player of the week. So I'm going to go with both. and go, I'm going to have co-players of the week, Max and Albert. Does he ever go by Al? I don't know.
No. In my house, he's known as Alberto.
Okay.
Player of the week for me was, I looked at Max. Max was great. There were some other little things, guys here, there. JT had a few good games. Thought about DJ Peters since he got his first home run.
Yeah,
but
I thought too.
I looked at the rest of the week. It's like one home run. It's not a no-hitter. It's like, if he had one really great game all the way around, maybe. I'm giving mine 100% fully to one guy, and that's Albert Pujols this week. 2 home runs, 2 doubles, like I mentioned before, 5 RBIs, and he's just a presence that we've talked about. That's why he has his own little special segment within a segment in Albert's Corner.
He does. My favorite moment of the series with San Francisco was him getting that double, and I mean, really running it out. And the dugout was going crazy. Dave Roberts was up on the top step, I think, onto the grass. He was so excited. And Albert is just fun to watch, and he's always smiling. So I think he's fitting in really well with the Dodgers.
That's the thing that he is, I think people have missed because his numbers have been down for so many years now, is that there's no lack of desire to play this game at the best possible level. And if whatever's happened to him that's keeping him from hitting the way he used to hit or keeping him from doing the things he could do, if he could get that back, even just for a small stretch, you would be amazed at because he really wants to play. Doing that double, during this season when he was with the Angels, he got a double steal working. He was off of second base because he was watching and playing. It was just smart baseball. And, he knows a lot of stuff. And he's worth having around because even if he doesn't play every day, the things that he does, one of the younger players could look at it and say, ooh. I know there was a big thing mentioning one last thing about Albert before we move on to the Angels, is that Cody's back and Cody's locker is right next to Albert's locker.
Yes, and he said, I am going to soak up the knowledge.
All right, a couple things before we get deep into the Angels, who had a good week, really, overall, when you see what their final record was of the 6 games they played. But a couple things want to talk about. Number one, on a personal level, I'm still having issues with the Angels because of the whole Albert Pujols thing, because of other pieces I'm seeing. I really am having issues with them and how the organization's being run and what's happening there. The other thing I wanted to get out of the way right off the bat here with them is we finally got an answer about Mickey Callaway. If you don't remember, Mickey Callaway was the pitching coach, operative term was, who was or is alleged to have sexually harassed many different people from his time in Cleveland to New York. Different women have all come out. MLB has placed him on their ineligible list for 2 years, so he can't do anything for them. And he did come out with some kind of a statement saying, basically maintaining his innocence in it. Anything that he did was consensual, blah, blah, blah. If it was, fine. If these people, if the women who have come out against him are just trying to get at him, normally if it's one or two, especially if it was from somebody then you find they're connected, maybe you can investigate that. But when there's many, it's like Deshaun Watson. When there's 20 some odd women, don't tell me you didn't do anything. Obviously, you did something. Maybe it's not how it's being portrayed, but something happened. And I'm able with Mickey Callaway, like the husband who's trying to get him fired, I've erased him. I don't care. That's between him and his wife, and Mickey Callaway and his wife apparently too. But all this other stuff, there's something going on. I was happy to see that it was gone because the Angels needed to get that out of the way, and they needed to move on and get everything in place. Their pitching staff needs a lot of help. So anyway, that's done. That's over with. And good news for the Angels. They went into, or the Texas Rangers came and visited them for just a short 2-game set, and the Angels swept them. And probably the big thing that happened there was, for lack of any other reason, Justin Upton got moved into the leadoff spot. And for the first 3 games he was in the leadoff spot, he had a hit. In fact, in both the games versus the Rangers, he had leadoff home runs. So pretty incredible. 11-5 in the first game, 9-8. Now here's the thing with that one. They were ahead like 8-0. Remember the Dodgers being up 13-0? This was kind of like that. The Angels were up 8-0. Next thing you know, it's 9. They got 9. It's like 9-1 or something like that, but 9-4, and they let them 9-3, and then they let the Rangers score 5 runs in 1 inning. Luckily, they were able to hold on and win it, but they tried to give it away. They were able to hold it. Taylor Ward had a great game then. Like I said, Upton with the J-up had the leadoff home run for the second game in a row. Taylor Ward 3 for 4, 5 RBIs with a double, a home run. So versus the Rangers, they looked good and they stayed out of the basement. They then traveled up to Oakland for their Bay Area getaway, because they have 4 in Oakland, and then they start the beginning of this week in San Francisco. Now, they got beat 5-0 in the first game because they dropped the first 2 of the series and won the last 2 of the series. But Patrick Sandoval, who's generally been out of the bullpen and looked okay here and there, he came in, pitched great. 5 innings, 4 strikeouts, no runs. But that day, he was going up against Chris Bassett, who threw a complete game shutout.
Shohei Ohtani was supposed to start that game. Is that correct?
That's correct. He was supposed to start that game, but apparently he doesn't know how the traffic works. Maybe he did. Maybe he got on a city bus instead of... So there's normally, I think this is pretty general in baseball, there's normally 2 or 3 buses that go, and they go at different times. There's guys that need to go in early because they need to go to the trainer and do therapy, or they need to do, or some guys like to go in and take batting practice early, or look at tape, or warm up. There's normally a second bus, which is where the coaches and everybody else that can go there at regular time will go, and a third bus for everybody that can be there a little bit later, or for some reason we're running behind. I don't know. But there's different schedules for that. So apparently Shohei was on the last bus, and the last bus got stuck in traffic because they all stay in San Francisco. They don't stay in Oakland. And they got on the bus, and the bus got out, and the traffic was all backed up going across the Bay Bridge to go over to Oakland from the city. So the bus turns around, goes back, and the players that were going, as Shohei included, had to go get on the BART, which is the subway or the train around San Francisco and Oakland, the Bay Area Rapid Transit. Unless you're a Dodger player, and then it's the OART, the Ocean Area Rapid Transit. The OART. ORT. It's the ORT. Anyway, and so he ended up being late. So he couldn't warm up properly. He ended up DHing, but they pushed his start to the next day. Because why? Traffic. Where the Angels lose 3-1, but J-Up got another hit in the leadoff spot. So that was pretty cool. But his drama wasn't being stuck in traffic or having to take mass transit to the game. His drama started when Mark Canha came up. And Shohei pitches him, throws a couple of pitches, throws inside on him, and it gets up, and it was close to his head. It wasn't like right at it, and he didn't throw it on purpose, but it got in there, and that upset Canha. Canha was walked off, and as far as we could tell, he yelled like, "Come on, Show." Well, he's trying to pitch him inside because he knows what kind of a hitter Mark Canha is. So Canha's going off. He's yelling at him. Shohei's just standing there like, okay, hey, it's on me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Kurt Suzuki, as a good catcher normally would, in a Yadi Molina way, kind of went after Canha. Not real physical, but he goes and he starts yelling at him or, John at him back and gets in his face. And they're going at it the whole time. Shohei's out at the mound with his hand up like, can I get a ball?
I know. That's my favorite part. The bench is clear and he's on the mound asking for a ball. Like, come on, let's get going. He never gets involved in the fray. I mean, nothing happens.
He's even kind of smiles, kind of like,
yeah.
And everybody's going, all these guys are coming out on either way, and he's still right there.
Yep.
But he did tell him, hey, I'm sorry, that's on me. I didn't try. Kept his composure, though, throughout it, and struck him out.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. I don't know. Obviously, I think Canha, Bob Melvin said he was just in the moment. And, sometimes that happens, but I'm like, really, it's Shohei Ohtani. I'm not saying, I don't know how well he speaks English, but really, whatever he was yelling at him, depending on what he, understood, or it just probably was like in one ear, out the other. I'm here to play a ball game. So.
Right. I think that he probably understands more than he speaks at this point. Cause there's a lot of stuff he knows. And he got it. At first I was like, come on, dude, this part of the game. But I thought, and I know Mark Canha from the standpoint that I've seen him a lot as an A, but I don't know him, like I know the Dodgers or the Angels players.
Right.
But then I thought Bryce Harper, and then even more so Kevin Pillar.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought those guys, that's probably in his head. People getting hit, and he doesn't, and it was up by his head. So, and he just took it wrong.
And he
got mad.
My nose, my beautiful nose.
Yeah, he was worried about being Marsha Brady.
That's right.
I'm wondering, is this a streak? This has been like 2 or 3 shows in a row that I've mentioned the Brady Bunch. So that goes, but that whole thing was funny to me. That was it. That made the whole series the game. It didn't really matter after. It was just him. Can I get a ball? I need a ball. I'm ready to keep playing here. And he just kept his composure. And I think this is the thing that makes Shohei And there was something else, and I can't remember what it was now, but he kind of gave, Chris Bassett.
Right.
Chris Bassett threw a pitch. He like saluted him like, that was good.
Yeah.
He's just if you ever see him, he comes up to the plate, he nods to the umpire like a sign of respect. It's like, watching a karate match, where they come out in the tournament, bow. You bow to the ref, you bow to your sensei, you bow to each other. He comes in and he pays his respect, and he's very respectful to the game. I've only seen him just recently, was the only time I really saw him stand and watch a ball go out of a ballpark. And he didn't really for that long. And he kind of watched it and then he took off. So anyway, Shohei is, if Mike Trout doesn't come back soon, Shohei's going to take over. Mike Trout would be like, Mike who?
Yeah.
Isn't he with the Phillies now? Who's that guy? So those first two games, they couldn't beat the A's. The second two games, number one, game 3, they won 4-0. No hits from J-Up. He was his first game 0 for 5. He was in the leadoff spot, but he didn't get any hits. But Anthony Rendon, Tony finally doing something, 2 for 4 with an RBI and a double. Alex Cobb, 2 outings in a row now. 7 innings pitched this time, 8 Ks. Not necessarily the pitcher that we wanted from Baltimore, but this season I'm leaning towards taking Alex Cobb, letting Dylan Bundy go, and we still should have got John Means.
Yeah.
But a good-looking game for the Angels overall there. Game 4, another win. They win at 4-2, mostly thanks to Jose Suarez and his 3 scoreless innings, preserving the lead that they had, because my favorite pitcher this season, Jose Quintana, went out with an injury.
Now on the IL, has joined the infamous list.
Yes. He was feeling left out, apparently, with shoulder discomfort. So he, once again, probably would have blown it, but thanks to Jose Suarez. Taylor Ward, another good game, 2 for 4. Fletch, 2 hits, and that brought in 2 RBIs. So they started to look pretty good, but they've been playing this kind of, even though they're below 500, they've been playing this kind of 500 ball. This week, 4-2. So a 667 week for them. Looking okay. Honestly, I kind of just am still not into it. I don't see them making a run at any point. We don't expect Trout back until July sometime. Quintana might as well have Tommy John surgery, even though it's a shoulder problem, because he just.
they said, you know what? We know it's your shoulder, but we also feel that you could benefit from Tommy John surgery.
Yes. That's like when you take your car in to get an oil change and they go, you also need an air filter and a transmission. That's
right.
That's what they're doing. So I don't know what's really going to happen. I know Fletcher's now playing short for a while because Jose Iglesias found his way on into the IL to make room for Max Stassi, who I haven't seen has been reinstated, but Drew Butera DFA'd after they picked him up. He's done. I think they picked him up because Stassi was gone.
I think Stassi is a rehab assignment and then should be making his way back here pretty soon. I don't know that there's a timetable, but it's sooner than later. Let's just say that. So that could also be good for the Angels offensively and defensively too.
Yeah. All right. So the Angels started off the week with the Giants for 2 games. In San Francisco, like I said, they had a long weekend in the Bay Area. They had 4 with Oakland, now a couple with San Francisco. And then they'll return home to take on the Mariners for 4. This week's Player of the Week from Angel Town.
I went with Justin Upton. I know that, I was looking through the stats and there wasn't any one person that just jumped out that was like, just they had this. But he had the 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, and he just hitting, batting average, still not great, but he helped in those where he needed. So I went with J up this week.
Not he was on my list. I had quite a few players that I looked at. Honestly, like every week, you could have probably went with Jared Walsh.
Yeah,
overall, he was the most productive.
But I always pick him.
And he's the only player in the starting lineup batting over 300 currently. Shohei, probably another case for him. But and then I even maybe considered Sandoval for a little bit. But overall, it just, he had that one outing. He's not consistent like that. I guess you got to reward him when he is. With that thought in mind, though, I went with Taylor Ward. And I did think J up for the reasons you had, but Taylor Ward batted .316 over the week, 6 for 19, 2 runs scored, 1 double, 1 home run, 6 RBIs, and a walk. So he became my player of the week this week. I'm hoping that they can just keep him in there and he continues. He becomes more Jared Walsh-ish. That he's the kind of the guy that you didn't necessarily expect, but he's really bringing it around. Before we tap out here of the Angels, one last thing. Looks like Tempe, Diablo Stadium, is going to remain their spring home for a few more years.
Yeah, they will be the spring training stadium for the Angels through 2035. The stadium is going through renovations. They're doing those now, so lots of upgrades, but the Angels will be there in Tempe, right off the freeway in Diablo Stadium.
So more chances for somebody to finally hit a home run all the way out onto the freeway. Shohei would be my guess to be able to do that because he's hit it well over the batter's eye out into the parking lot behind, which I've parked in that parking lot before. So maybe I could go and he could hit my car and then give me, free signed ball or a jersey or even though it says you were responsible. That's not our fault if Shohei Ohtani hits your car with a ball. It is our fault if Justin Upton does it. All right, time for a spin around the league. This week, kind of like I think we try to do this more often than not always, but we try to put the non-happy baseball news up at the front, get it out of the way, and move on to the good stuff. And we're going to kind of do the same thing. We got a list of milestones, kind of, but this one we got to talk about right away and get it out of the way. And for that, we're going to go to Sandy Springs, Georgia, down near the Atlanta Braves home, and Marcell Ozuna. Probably most of you have heard about this, but Marcel's out on the IL, broke some fingers, has an arm in a cast, and he and his wife have been married for 10 years, and apparently they've been battling for 10 years. Got a little out of hand this last time, and Marcell Ozuna was arrested for aggravated assault, strangulation, and that was on his wife. And to make matters worse, it's not a he said, she said. The police got there and actually saw him assaulting her. So that makes it a little worse. And now it's not a matter of I don't want to press charges on him. The cops saw it. They don't need her to testify that he was doing it because they saw it.
He was released on a $20,000 bond. And so not only does he have legal trouble, he also could face a lengthy suspension from MLB as they will begin a review of the matter under the domestic violence policy that's in place between MLB and the Players Association.
Let's talk about some happy different things. Now, this guy doesn't always make us happy, but we have to we got to celebrate him.
Yeah.
For, if no other reason, staying around as long as he had to make as many bad calls as he has. A guy who at one point was known as one of the best umpires, probably back in 76 when he started.
Right.
To one of the guys who's been a trigger, especially last year, because of the whole mask thing. He didn't want to wear a mask. And some really bad calls. Joe West.
Yeah, Country Joe or Cowboy Joe,
right?
However you want to refer to him.
That crummy ump behind the plate. The guy who confiscated a hat the other day simply to confiscate a hat, really, when you read the story. It doesn't sound like he did it for any reason. Anyway, we're not talking about the bad reasons. We're talking about that by calling his 5,376 game, he passed Bill Clem, who was he like from back in the 40s, I think.
Yeah.
And on.
Yep.
He's now has called the most games in Major League history as a major league umpire.
Yeah, and it's interesting with Joe West. So it happened. They had a big celebration. I put those in quotes when he was recognized, and I guess it's fitting. He's an umpire. He was booed. So who cares? We don't care.
Right.
You had
well, what would you do?
5,000.
I think that if I was Joe West, I would take that at, wow, they love me.
Yeah, I think he probably did. San Diego Chicken, if you remember back from the 70s, early 80s, San Diego Chicken came out of retirement to present flowers to Joe
and
West.
Actually gave him the flowers. He had given them to him once before, but just the stems.
Yes.
Among other issues. If you remember the chicken, it was always shenanigans.
Yeah, and the Oak Ridge Boys were there to sing.
Who I guess is one of his favorites. They sang the anthem, right?
They sang the national anthem, and of course Elvira, that awesome song.
They did Elvira.
I don't know if they sang it. I think it was just playing. But so they were there. One thing I think is really interesting is the guy that he passed, the umpire that he passed, who had the record forever. He was the one who started wearing the chest plate, the chest protector. Well, Joe West actually has a patent on a chest.
Right on the one he wears.
Yes.
And I saw when I was looking up to see other information about him, there's a couple places that sell Joe West umpiring equipment.
Yeah. So he's all in. Now, one thing about Joe West is he wanted to play baseball, but he was a high school quarterback. He had a scholarship. He's from North Carolina. He had a scholarship. His high school football coach wouldn't let him play baseball because he was afraid he was going to mess up his fingers. He wanted to be a catcher. And so he listened to this guy, but he loved baseball so much that he decided to start umpiring. And
he should have played baseball. He would have messed his fingers up being a catcher. But if you love it that much, that's one thing, that word, that phrase, I've always heard that umpires probably love the game more than any player, or as a whole even, because of what they put in to being around the game. And imagine too that you have to be just a spectator. You get to see all of the great. How many players has Joe West been on the field with since 1976? And by the way, this is his last year. He's retiring at the end of this season.
Yeah.
How many great players, Hall of Famers, has he been on there with? And you can't gush about the Hall of Famers. You can't, or any player that you like. You're not a fan of any player. You can only be a fan of the game, really, and the way that you call it. Which I wish that they would call it better most of the time, but I don't doubt. Angel Hernandez is the only one I ever doubt, and
Yes.
his the way he carries himself in the game. But Joe West, even with the stuff that I hated, Joe West was always one of those guys. Joe West, Bruce Fremming, who
Yeah.
he was another one. Doug Eddings. There was a bunch of guys that you only knew who a few of them were. Now you know who a lot of them are. The umpires should always be in the background. You shouldn't know who they are.
No, we don't need to know.
Let's talk about a teary-eye moment for you and a kid named Alek Manoah.
It wasn't just a teary-eyed moment for me.
No, his
and
mom
maybe
too.
it's because I'm a mom, but it's a lot of people. Alex Manoah plays for the Toronto Blue Jays. He got his first start.
doesn't.
He's a starting
Plays for the
pitcher.
Buffalo Blue Jays.
Oh, sorry, I
used to
forgot.
play
I'm going
for
to call them
somewhere
the
in
Buffalo
Florida.
Snowbirds. That's
All right.
I
So
wanted.
the Buffalo Snowbirds. Wouldn't that have been more appropriate somewhere in Florida?
Yeah, they should have been the somewhere in Florida Snowbirds, and now the Buffalo Blue Jays.
Because they're closer to home now.
Yes. All right. Buffalo Blue Jays. He is a starting pitcher. He got his first start against the New York Yankees, and his parents were there. And his mom, they were showing his mom's reaction to every pitch. They did win that game. He pitched 6 innings, but his mom was so excited, and you couldn't help but when you were watching it to be excited, not only for him, but for her, because you think about how many games, little league games, did she go to,
Right.
that she drove to, and then as he got older, traveled to, wherever. I mean, I remember, when we were kids and, you played, and there were times we were at different ballparks going between, all over. So it's just something that you do. So for his mom was really cool. And she was yelling and screaming. No filter, but really cool moment. And one of the things too, I think, is Alex Manoah said about his mom that she, growing up, there were times that he remembers her not eating so him and his brother could eat. So, being able to have a first start in the MLB against the Yankees, very cool moment for the Manoah family.
And against Corey Kluber, who promptly went on the IL.
Yeah, for 2 months or more. We'll see.
Right. So it's another one of those. It was a great moment. It's cool to see that when somebody comes up. It's like when we started the season with Yermín.
Yeah.
It's a feel-good story about somebody who's almost out of baseball, or the kid who came from a hard, childhood and has become, finally made it up to the bigs or something like that, and making enough money that now he can make sure his mom never goes hungry.
True.
I don't. All right. This is from the No Wonder the Pirates are in last place file. And El Mago, the magician Javi Baez, did something that if you want a smart baseball move, it may be the only time this ever happens. Somebody's bound to try it again at some point. But if you didn't see this, look it up. So there's a man on third. Javi Baez hit down to the third baseman. Third baseman looks at the runner to kind of hold him and then throws across to first base. But the throw pulls the first baseman off the bag a little bit. Javi gets there, sees where, because the man, he's like 2 or 3 steps in front of the base towards home plate. Javi sees this. The runner on third has come down a little bit, but he's watching the whole play. He's probably not going to come because they're going to get him and they throw him out at home. Javi stops and runs back to home plate to start a rundown. the first baseman doesn't get him when they get there. The guy on third, the runner on third, sees what's going on and comes home. So the first baseman goes, oh, throws the ball. It gets away from the catcher and the guy scores. Javi sees what's happening, turns around and runs to first base. The second baseman was out of place, so he had to run over to get to the base. Well, he almost gets there, but the ball goes off his glove. Javi not only gets to first base, but then moves on to second. And the ball goes off the second baseman's glove, but not far enough for him to advance. But he could have almost been on third base. Now, why are the Pittsburgh Pirates in last place? Please tell me what went wrong in that play that shouldn't have.
All the first baseman had to do was step on the bag.
Right.
That's all he had to do.
It was you should never have where was he going to go? Back to home plate? It's not like he could go back. Hey, I'm going to take over, start play. I'm going to hit again. No, there's no. The first base is an out, a force out.
Yeah.
On that hit, the only time that you'd have to tag somebody is if they're sliding back into first. Not.
Did he have to apologize to his team?
He should have, but you know what they probably said in the Pirates dugout was like,
yeah.
Smack their head. I had an instructor when I was in the Air Force at Loadmaster School, and somebody would answer a stupid answer, and he'd just smack his head, and he'd go, rocks. They keep sending me rocks.
Hey, was that Dad?
No, that was one of his things, but no.
Box of rocks.
No, box of rocks. He got that from the Army.
Yeah.
This guy, yeah, Dad wasn't there at Altus when I went through, but yeah, rocks. They keep sending me rocks. Speaking of the Pirates, they released Brian Goodwin, who's a favorite here at our house. Bri is no longer a Pirate, but he did get picked up by a team that needs outfielders, the White Sox, because they've lost two of them for the season. He is playing in Charlotte with the Knights. Hopefully we'll see Bri up with the White Sox soon. Another milestone for the MLB, Josh Donaldson scored the 2 millionth run scored in MLB history.
Was there confetti and a big sign that dropped down? That'd be really cool, but there wasn't. No. And
that would have been great. Yeah, I think so. Or maybe like something they could have set something up out of the batting circles. They just
something happens. Confetti can. But Josh Donaldson, okay, 2 millionth run. The 2 millionth run is cool. I am waiting for Josh Donaldson to release his tell-all which pitchers use foreign substances. He says he's going to release it and everyone's going to know. But maybe now that he scored the 2 millionth run, he might be under some kind of contract where he can't release that information. I don't know. Or he's like, hey, you know what? This is good enough for me. 2 millionth run. Who cares?
I wonder does he get something for that other than just, hey, you got to be gee whiz. Ooh, you're a trivia question.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you get to, what would you get? You get to keep home plate because you.
I was just thinking, who wins if he puts out a book about who's using substances, a tell-all like that? Mike Fiers.
Yeah.
He wins because everybody's going to stop thinking about him and just the Asterisks. And I don't think a lot of people are against him because they were happy. Only the Asterisks. He can't go to Houston anymore.
No.
But, which is fine. He probably doesn't care. But he can go anywhere else. Josh Donaldson would take anybody who thought anything about Mike Fiers would put it all on Josh Donaldson. I think it would be worse for him.
Yeah.
I think that everybody would be throwing at his head purposely.
I think so too. So maybe he's rethought that whole.
That might be good. Honestly, Josh Donaldson, just do it. Why not? You know what? Jose Canseco has done really well in his post-baseball life after his steroid tell-all. Although I do have to admit, he and I agree on one thing. Alex Rodriguez is a fraud.
He does tweet that out quite often, just out of the blue.
He does, just randomly.
Yeah.
He wakes up in the middle of the night. Rodriguez is a fraud. No hitters this last week. So what's happening? Is it?
I don't know. There's nothing happening in baseball with no hitters.
Yusei Kikuchi from the Mariners came the closest, it looks like. 6 full innings of a no-hitter, and then gave up a hit to start the 7th. That's it. And then players that popped up in my head this week, Dylan Cease, pitcher for the White Sox. And then I wondered why, and it was because of one good outing. He's pitched pretty solidly, but he's not having some kind of awesome year. He's just pitching solid. He's pitching for a good team, even though he's pitching for an obsolete manager. And then the other name that popped in my head is probably because he has a tie, as of the weekend, a tie in the home runs, is Rangers rookie Adolis Garcia, who's got 16 home runs, 41 RBIs, which puts him towards the top, like 4 or 5 in the MLB. The 16 home runs is tied for the MLB lead. He's got a triple, 3 doubles, and 50 hits on the season. So he is definitely their bright spot. And somebody that you won't see, like I said, we talked about earlier, Joey Gallo's probably on his way out at the trade deadline, I would assume. But they're going to hold on to Adolis for a few years. So he can grow a big, bushy beard, and then they could trade him to the Yankees.
He'll have to shave it off. That's right. Some names, especially one name, because we always look at the IL. And, we've talked about hamstrings, elbows, obliques. This one caught my eye. Yeah.
No, we used to just say that's a pain in my side. You're such a pain in my side. You had an oblique injury. You didn't know. I
had no idea all these years. I didn't know. But one name that really stood out to me in the nature of the injury is Zach Plesac of the Cleveland Indians, who fractured his thumb aggressively taking off his shirt. He ripped his shirt off and he fractured his thumb.
Now, they get them like ripping off their shirts or their jerseys, or like when you walk offs, they'll rip off the player's jersey unless you're Altuve because you got to hide your buzzer. But what was he ripping his shirt off for? And how did his thumb get into? Did it get into a buttonhole? What happened?
I still don't know. I just know
was there a chair involved?
There could have been. It was just one of those things because you're like, okay, Trevor Story, the bright spot for the Rockies, is currently on the IL after hurting his elbow. Now, hopefully this will be a better news for the Rockies because, it's his elbow. He's going to have further tests done. But then you look and you're like, okay, oblique, hamstring, aggressively taking off your shirt. How does that work? And it's a freak thumb injury.
That is a weird one. So far, we've got a weird thumb injury. People for ripping off his shirt. You've got two guys. You got, what's his name? Luzardo out of Oakland, who hit a table because of a video game. You've got Huascar Yanoa hitting the dugout wall and breaking his hand because of a bad outing. It's crazy.
So
all of a
he
sudden, Tommy John surgery doesn't seem that weird of a thing or that freak of a thing.
no, it's not that big of a deal. So uh, the fracture happened, according to Terry Francona. Plesac had a rough outing against the Twins. He had allowed 5 runs, 3 of those were earned on 5 hits, and he issued a walk and 1 strikeout across 3 2/3 innings. He is in the clubhouse. He, as Francona says, he rather aggressively ripping off his shirt, and he got his thumb hit hard on a chair by his locker in the clubhouse. And so he hit his thumb on a chair that was made out of concrete and fractured his thumb. No, I don't know what the chair was made out of, but it seems very strange. It is a freak accident, and for a pitcher, not a good one. So
At least, though, they were truthful.
yeah.
Luzardo said he just bumped his hand on a desk and it broke.
Right.
Your fragile, tiny bones.
Yeah.
They're all brittle. How do you pitch it all? At least they said here he did it, and I could see that he probably did it. The chair was probably closer than he thought. He rips it off, hits it really hard in just the right spot. That makes more sense. But at least they told the truth. It wasn't, oh, I just bumped it.
I just bumped it. Now, a first, I think, for this season, at least that I've seen, is Mike Soroka, who plays for the Braves. According to Brian Snitker, he is most likely going to be out for the season with an Achilles heel injury. So,
yeah,
not good for the Braves. But
no, the Soroka has been. They've been waiting for him. He's a pitcher, waiting for him to come back. And I thought he was close. I didn't realize. So this because he was injured already.
Yeah,
Achilles injury on top of whatever was wrong, I guess. And
then somebody else, a name that caught my eye is Luke Voit, who plays for the Yankees. Now, he started the season on the IL. He had a meniscus tear. He comes back, and Albert Pujols' name had actually come up in, where the Yankees, where he might land as a possible Yankee because Voit was out. Well, Voit came back. Luckily for the Dodgers, Pujols goes to the Dodgers. Luke Voit is back on the IL. Can you guess with what type of injury?
It's not an Achilles. Does it start with an O?
It does.
Oh, like I can't even think of anything else to throw in there as a joke. The oblique, obviously. Oblique, oblica.
Yeah, he has an
Luke
oblique
Voigt's
injury.
Gone. Luke Voigt's gone.
He's back on the IL.
He hurt his oblique playing this baseball game.
Yeah, he's back on the IL. Started the season on the IL, back on the IL.
Michael Brantley from the Asterix started the season on the IL, is back on the IL with a hamstring injury. I think that, they've not done well overall at times, and I think that's part of it. Michael Brantley is, I never really cared one way or the other about Mike Brantley, but because he's chosen to stay, if he had left the Asses this last season, I would have been fine with him wherever he went.
Didn't.
But he stayed, so he's like Dusty now. I drank the Kool-Aid.
Yep.
I'm in.
Yeah, and another guy started the season on the IL, came off for a few games, was fatigued, and is now back on the IL. Is Buffalo Blue Jays George Springer. He is just hanging out. So my theory with George Springer is he had a lot of shows that he wanted to watch, and he hadn't gotten
his
through.
Programs were backing up on him.
Didn't have, it was like, I really got to get through the season. And so he's on the IL watching his shows.
So far, And I want to thank spottrack.com for their list. This is where I'm getting this information from. They give you the team, the injury, the list that they're on, whether they be on the 10-day list or a 60-day list, and they have to be on for the minimum is 10 days or 60 days. Not that's all their time they're going to be on, because like Mike Trout won't be back till July. He's on the 10-day. But George Springer on the 10-day, where he started the season, they also tell you how much money they've made while on the IL. And some of them haven't been on very long, so they, $30,000. Kevin Biggio from also from the Buffalo Blue Jays, $35,000. Any guesses on how much money George Springer has made?
It's got to be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes, that's true. However, you've bid under.
Oh.
But still had a chance to win the Price is Right showcase giveaway because you bet under. Had you gone over, or had you done it exactly, you would have guessed $3,548,400.
Holy cow, man!
And he played what? 2 games?
I want to be on the IL. Put me on the IL. I don't want to play today
or any other day.
I gotta be
for that matter. He's made that much money, so yes, the being on the IL seems attractive, doesn't it?
It does.
The Blue Jays have played thus far, as of Sunday, 52 games. He's officially played in 4 of them. And between his injuries, and fatigue, he can only make 4 games. But there's guys who've been on the IL from the Blue Jays longer than he has that have made no money compared to or the same period, making nothing. They're making $100,000. He, on the other hand, has made over $3 million. You think the Blue Jays are feeling good about that signing now?
I don't think so. I think it's the Springer racket.
I think so. I think that he's trying to pull us. So when it happens in the future, it'd be like he's trying to pull a Springer scam. And what happens? Look at it. Who is it that's doing the Springer scam?
A former asterisk.
Exactly.
Cheater.
All right, let's leave it this week on a high note, especially with the IL. Something that's unusual about the IL this week. Go.
Dun, da, da, da. Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge are not on the IL. Woo!
That'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at siblingrivalrybb.
We're also on Twitter at siblingrivalrybb without the A. Email us, show@siblingrivalrybb.com. We'd love to hear what you think, so subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast.
Next week on SRBB, we update our brackets for the road to Omaha and find out if USA Baseball is headed to Tokyo.
Oh, my oblique. How much do I get paid on the SRBB IL?
We love our listeners. We want you to download and listen to the podcast and share it with others. We just ask you to acknowledge Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast as the source of the material. Please do not, except with our express written permission, distribute or commercially misuse the content.